All right, and now just to finish this part, let's create some factories for getting documents. And let's start with get1 here, okay? So exports.get1, but this one is actually a bit trickier, and that's because we have a populate in the getTour handler. So let's take a look at that. So right here, in this one we have this populate here, which is different from all the other get handlers in the other resources, right? But well, this is not really a problem, because we will simply allow ourselves to pass in a populate options object into our get1 function, okay? So instead of simply passing in the model, we will also have populate, so options. All right. And so from here, we will then return the normal handler function. So let's go ahead and again copy all of this. All right. So we don't need this one here. Then here, as always, it is model. And here it is doc. Well, actually here, document. And here, once again, data equal to doc. Now we also need to make some changes here now because of this populate. So basically, we will first create the query, and then if there is a populate options object, we will then add that to the query, and then by the end, await that query. Okay, makes sense? So let's translate what I just said. So the query is simply equal to model.find by ID, like this, right? Then, if there is a populate options object, well, then in that case, query is going to be query dot populate with the populate options. Okay, and then finally we await our query and save it in the document. So await query, just like this. All right, and so that's actually it. So this logic that we have here with not awaiting the query right away, but instead just saving it into a variable so that we can then in the next step manipulate it, we actually already did this kind of stuff before when we were building our API features, right? So only in the end, when the entire query is ready, we will then await it and store it somewhere in a variable. Okay? And so now let's go ahead and actually use this one everywhere. Starting, of course, with the tour. So getTour will now be factory.get1 and pass in the tour and the populate options object. Remember that? And so what we're going to do is to say path and reviews, right? So remember that the path property is basically the field that we want to populate, and then we could also specify select. So remember this one, where we can specify which of the fields we actually want to get, right? But in this case, we don't have any of that. And so let's just leave it like this. And now we can actually go ahead and delete all of this. So great. And just to make sure, let's actually quickly test this. So get a certain tour. And indeed, it still works. Let's see if this one had some reviews. Oh yeah, actually it does. And you see that the population process is also still working. So that was successful, I would say. And so now let's also use this get1 in all the other resources. So the user controller here, where we have, let's see where it is. Down here. So let's say factory.get1, but only with the user model and no populate options object. Okay, And since we're here, let's actually just change the error message here for create user. So this route is not defined, it never will be. And please use sign up instead. Next up, and finally, the same thing for the reviews basically. So exports dot get review is equal factory dot get one review. And I think we don't have this in our routes just yet. And indeed we don't. So adding this real quick here, review controller dot get review. Okay. Let's just quickly test this one as well. Just because I also want to then add it here to Postman. Okay. So I'm just copying this one because it's similar. And then indeed it is get. And yep, works perfectly fine. Store it here in reviews. And get review. All right, and now all that's missing is basically a get all factory function, right? So basically to replace this get all tours, get all users, which we should also have somewhere here. So get all users and also get all reviews. So let's again copy it here from the tour controller, because actually this is the one that is really complete because it has all these API features. And so after creating our get all factory function, all of the three resources will then get these API features. Okay, so again, copying all of this, exports dot get all. And so now we will actually have to require these API features here. And in fact, we can actually remove it from here because we will no longer need it because we now transferred this to the handler factory. Right? Now here, all we need to do is then to replace, as always, with model, and then here, doc and data. Now, okay, perfect. So let's see if this works. Get all with tour. And now I really want to see if this still works with all these features. And so it's here, get all tours. And so let's add our query string here. And let's say duration greater or equal than, let's say, 10. And sort by price. Okay, and so we get two results here. Okay, it's not working. Anyway, we get the two results here, and they both have a duration greater than 10, and the price is 14.97, and the second one is higher. Okay, let's put it here like to 7, so we get a bit more results. Okay, and now we get 5. Okay. Anyway, let's now do the same for the reviews, because I'm really excited to test out these API features on the reviews as well. Now, one problem that we have here is that this route handler actually has these two lines of code that all the other get all handlers do not have. Okay, but what we're going to do here is to simply copy this code into our handler factory as well. Okay, now that's kind of a hack, because we really only need this one for get all reviews, But to get around this would be a bit too much work here in the situation. And once more, I simply want to keep it simple here. All right. So let's copy this here. And I'm adding a comment here to allow for nested get reviews on tour. Okay. And so this filter, we will then also pass it in here. Okay. So again, this is a small hack, but I'm going to leave it here like this because I think it is reasonable. All right. Anyway, let's now get rid of this. So factory.get all and review. Okay. Let's actually put this down here next to all the others. Okay. And now, as you see, we actually do not even need this catch async here anymore. So I'm going to comment it out here because who knows, maybe in the future we're going to need it for some other middleware function here. All right. So that looks nice and clean. And let's now test out the get all reviews. All right. So let's actually save changes here as well. These ones we don't need. But I actually want to get all the reviews. So right now we have 4 reviews. And so let's now try to filter for reviews only with a rating of 4, let's say. So query string rating equal 4. Oh, and it actually works. So nice. That's really nice. So just like this, we get access to all these API features like filtering, sorting, pagination, and all that good stuff that we implemented a long time ago in the course, right? And I also want to make sure that this get all reviews on tour also still works. So let's check that. And yeah, you see that it actually does. So the tour ID that we have here is exactly the one right here and right here. So that one is also still working. And so let's finally also use getAll for the user controller. All right. So basically replacing simply this. So factory.getAll user. All right. And let's actually put this one here close to the other ones. All right. And then this one as well. So basically having all of these ones generated by factory functions together, and then all the others simply above them. All right. Let's do the same here. This one is already nice and clean, and the same for the tour controller. So what else do we have here? Yeah. This one we can get rid of. And okay, I think it looks nice like this. Again, we can comment out this piece of code because for now at least we don't need it anymore. And so just to test it again here with the users, let's get all of them together. And indeed, here they are. We can now also say that we only want the ones with the role of user. And indeed, that works as well. Great. And that actually wraps up this part of creating handler factory functions. And this really was a huge step forward in our project. So remember that a bit later, we will also create a booking resource. And so you see that probably we're going to be able to create the main API for these bookings in like 5 seconds or something, simply using these 5 factory functions, right? Anyway, good work, great job, and I see you in the next one.